Star Wars Day is upon us, May the 4th.
My name is Trisha Shute. My ID number with the 501st is TI7924. And this is my husband, Jason, who is TK5107. I have been an active member since 2008. My first troop was actually at Dragon Con down in Atlanta, one of the biggest cons in the country. And I've been a fan of Star Wars ever since I was a little girl. My mom got me into it. She was a big geek. And so I actually saw the 2007 Rose Bowl parade that featured all the 501st and thought, wow, that's really cool. And they kind of talked about how they do all their charity stuff. And I thought that'd be really neat. Well, fast forward a year, I meet him, and he was already a member when I came along. And so within a couple months of dating, I had my costume and had my ID number, and I've been an active member ever since. And yeah, my real-time job, my normal everyday job, is I'm actually a medical coder. I've had 15 years experience in the medical industry between doing registration, medical records, billing, and finally I got my CPC certification last year. So
Awesome. So talk about the history of the five, because you talked about that a little bit, the history of the 501st, and especially when it comes to charitable organizations, children's hospitals, and being involved with kids.
The 501st was started by a man named Albin Johnson, who lives in South Carolina. It was when the re-releases were coming out in 1997 that he decided to make his own Stormtrooper armor and go out to a movie theater and just hang out and take pictures with people. Well, the idea caught on, and now we are in over 100 countries worldwide on every continent except Antarctica. And unfortunately, real life kind of comes in to how we got involved with the hospitals, because Albin's daughter, Katie, was unfortunately diagnosed with brain cancer, and she passed away in 2005. And so when she was in the hospital, one thing that she had kind of asked for was a droid. She wanted to have a droid watch over her like R2 watched over Padme. And so a little pink droid called R2 Katie was invented. And R2 Katie goes around the world and visits hospitals. She's made appearances in the Clone Wars and in Episode 7. And really with Katie as kind of our guiding light, the 501st took it upon themselves to become more of a charity organization, do work with hospitals, do work with various charitable organizations around the country and around the world. And it's something that we're very proud of, to be able to be bad guys doing good is what we call ourselves.
I loved it when you sent me that email, bad guys doing good. That's fantastic. So I've never seen R2 Katie before, but I know of her, the Pink Droid. I think that's it, in a very, very short amount of time, really became a symbol for what you guys are doing outside of everything that you do, and the Darth Vaders and the Jedi and everything else. Like, that has become a symbol for what you guys do.
She really has. She's kind of like our poster child, if you will, for doing what we do, especially with the Make-A-Wish, because Katie had received her droid as part of Make-A-Wish. And so, it's just something that ties in really well. And even after she passed, we knew there were a lot of other people out there. And it's just, you get hooked on the good feeling that you get from doing a little good and giving back to your community. And everybody loves it, from the little kids up to the big kids to the big kids in costume. So,
the big kids
exactly.
that take their little kids, right? I get just as excited. So
Yep. We are seeing now 3 generations of people that will come up and ask for photographs. The grandpas, the dads, the kids, even the moms. It's great.
Awesome. So you talked about Make-A-Wish a little bit. I know you were involved. You were involved personally with one. Is that correct?
Yes, we a couple years ago did a Make-A-Wish, granted a wish for a young trooper named Marshall, and Marshall had, I believe, cancer of the liver. And basically what we did was we had a surprise for him. We had everybody dress up and kind of hide in a friend's basement. His basement's all decorated like Star Wars, and so he brought Marshall over with the intention of giving him a tour of this basement, and surprise, we were waiting in one of the rooms. We presented him with his own very own set of Stormtrooper armor. And within a couple months after that, his cancer went into remission, and he's been cancer-free ever since. So I can't ask for any better than that. And Marshall is actually still with us. He comes out and he troops with us. His dad joined the organization shortly after that. So it's great to see little Marshall out in his Stormtrooper armor. He's growing into it a little bit more than what he was initially. But it's great. The little kids that at the troops love to come up and see him, a Stormtrooper that's their size. It's cute. It's very cute.
I bet. I think that would be really cool. So how can a hospital, let's say a children's hospital wants more information on, how to contact you guys or how to schedule visits, how could they do that?
The easiest way is to go out to www.501st.com. That's 501st.com. Up at the top bar, there's a contact us and there's a request an appearance. And what that will do is that will send out an email through the system to whatever your local garrison is. If you're, anywhere around the country, it will find what the closest garrison to you is and contact the necessary people. And usually within 24 to 48 hours, somebody will get back to you and get on that and be able to start organizing what you want to do.
Okay, last question. You've been doing this for a little while. Mm-hmm. Give me one of those personal stories that really has kind of impacted your life, that really thought, you know what, this makes it all worthwhile.
That would have to be my first ever troop, really. I'd kind of been around the 501st and seen what they did with going around with my husband, and so I kind of knew a little bit what to expect, but it didn't really prepare me properly. After the big Dragon Con parade, I was hanging around down in one of the lower levels of one of the hotels near where kind of all the 501st was congregating and taking pictures with people. And a mother and a daughter came up to me, and the daughter was maybe 5-6 years old. She was a teeny tiny thing dressed head to toe in Star Wars. And she came running up to me and said, "Oh my gosh, you're my favorite. I love the TIE fighters. I have your Lego figure at home. Can I get a picture with you?" And I kind of nodded my head and said, "Of course." And I got down on one knee and put my arm around her and posed with my blaster. And she took the picture and she kind of jumped back up and went running towards her mom. She turned around and she said, "Thank you." And at that moment, I lifted up my helmet just enough so she could see my face underneath. And I said, "You're welcome." And her eyes just went as big as saucers. And she went, "You're a girl." And so she went running off, "Mommy, my TIE fighter is a girl like me." And it was waterworks, instant waterworks under the helmet. There was no saving it after that. So I guess to me, it's like the fact that I was able to inspire, hopefully, the next generation. That little girl's probably getting ready to be about 18. I like to think that somewhere down in Atlanta, Georgia, or nearabouts, that there's a little girl getting ready to make her application into the 501st and remembering a TIE fighter pilot that showed her that girls can be cool too.
That is super cool. That's so awesome. Oh, Tricia, thank you so much. I know Star Wars Day probably isn't the same for you guys this year as, in years past, but, we're doing what we can. And I really appreciate you being on with me today and talking about this a little bit more. One more time, if a hospital is interested in booking an appearance by the 501st, what was that website?
It's www.501st.com. That's 501st.com. Up at the top, there's a contact us and a drop down that says request an appearance. Fill out that form as best as you can. Please keep in mind that dates and times are very important for how many troopers you're going to get. Weekends, of course, are going to be a little bit better because you're going to get a lot more people. Weekdays, not quite so much. Also, keep in mind busy weekends like this weekend, usually we would be very involved with, like Free Comic Book Day, May the 4th be with you, Revenge of the 5th, so on. So just keep in mind that those are booked out very far in advance, but we do our best to try and accommodate anybody, and hospital troops are always priority.
This is super cool. Thank you again so much. I really love this. This was a dream come true for me. So this is super cool. Thank you so much. And may the Force be with you.
May the Force be with all of you, always.